I want to know, like, if I cross the finish line or another little girl is watching me race, like, am I a person that she can look up to?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Kane.
And I'm Danny Arovich.
Together, we're your hosts for Making It to Milan.
Let's jump in. I am extra excited about today's guest because not only is she an incredible para-athlete representing the nation of Canada, she's a Paralympic bronze medalist, multi-time World Cup and World Championship medalist, going to her 4th Paralympics, but I'd say most importantly, she's one of my closest friends. Please welcome to the podcast, Brittany Hudak.
Thank you, Danny. It's so nice to be here with you.
So tell us a bit about your childhood sports career because you weren't a cross-country skier.
No, honestly, I hadn't even heard of the Paralympics, which is really sad because I feel like the Paralympic movement has grown so much, which is amazing. But I think like I was born with my disability and I hadn't heard of the Paralympics. I didn't know anything about parasport. I kind of took to cross-country running because that was like the main thing that felt more fair to me. So in elementary school, I kind of like just wanted to do cross-country running races, and my cousin was big into dance. So I actually jazz danced for probably like 6 years, which not many people know that.
I didn't know you have rhythm.
Oh, I do actually, which maybe that helped like learning skiing at an older age because I feel like skiing is such a technical sport. Then actually when I graduated high school, I started university because that was kind of like just the normal path that you think you're going to take. Like at that point, I didn't have any intent like thinking I was going to pursue sport as a career. And I was working at the local Canadian Tire in the hardware department. And a local Paralympian like wheeled up to me. She was a 10-time Paralympian, Colette Begonia. She competed in Nordic skiing for a number of years. And she approached me one day and was just like, have you ever heard of the Paralympics? And do you think you'd want to try cross-country skiing? And that was my intro into the sport. And it's funny because I think like I just kind of went home that day with like this gut feeling of like, maybe I should just give skiing a try.
Oh my gosh, what an intro. I mean, thank God that you had that interaction with someone at the Canadian Tire because now look what you've done for the past like decade of sport and your career. So that one interaction really set you on a path to the Paralympics.
I know, it is really crazy to think about like if that interaction wouldn't have happened, like I'd be living a completely different life. And I think it just goes to show like how important it is to be like an advocate for parasport and really do your best to like raise awareness. Like I wish I knew that parasport existed when I was 11 years old and maybe I would have taken up swimming or something, you know, maybe I would have got involved in sport earlier and not felt like I was always having to compete with able-bodied peers because as you know, like it's a lot harder with one arm, which is why I'm like, okay, well, maybe if I just run, I can beat people.
Yeah, cross-country running for me really was the first time too. I felt like I didn't have to adapt in some way, like in basketball.
Yeah.
I obviously, like you, can't dribble with one hand. So it was like always not favoring me on the court, or in softball, I had to catch with the same hand and pull it off and then throw with that hand. And it was always like modifications were being made. But cross-country running, when I found it in high school, felt like, oh, wow, this is actually a bit more fair, it feels like.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is crazy then when you enter the Paralympics is for the first time basically in our lives, we compete against people who look like us. Like when I first showed up to a para track and field race in 2019, I was like, oh, there's people who look also are missing their hands who exist in this world. Like this is crazy. So was that a experience for you that was overwhelming? Like, did you spend much time with people with disabilities, or was your entry into parasport kind of that first time you were like really spending time with people who have other disabilities?
Yeah, that's like such an interesting thing to talk about because I feel like growing up in like rural Saskatchewan, like I didn't see a lot of people with disabilities, which also makes it challenging as a kid to have to like adapt in gym class. Like I think things are maybe different now, but in gym when you're just like trying to catch a basketball, like for me, I play basketball too, but it wasn't so much the dribbling or shooting. It was the having to like catch a free throw or something. I'm like, I got a bloody nose playing because it like I couldn't actually like catch the ball well. It like hit me like straight in the face. So I'm like, okay, I'm fine. But I think Yeah, it's just that feeling of like being validated or feeling more normal. I think growing up, I was just always the only person like with a physical disability. And then once you compete in para sports and you go to a competition, you're like, oh, people just like take their prosthetic legs off and get in their sit ski. And then they're super badass doing this sport. And I think that's really cool to see. And it's just that feeling of, that a deeper sense of belonging that you never really had. Yeah, there's so much to parasport that is really validating.
So you learn cross-country skiing at the age of 18, 19, and like you said, it is one of the most technically challenging, difficult sport, in my opinion, and I think others will say this, I think the hardest winter para sport. How is that process of learning skiing, and how long do you feel like it takes you to be like, I got this?
Well, our old coach, Robin McKeever, who I worked with for a number of years, he used to tell us that it would take at least 10 to 12 years to actually master Nordic skiing. And he did say it was the hardest winter sport for sure. Like, as you know, there's a lot of technical things to learn, and then trying to learn it at an older age, like you don't realize how balance is so hard and the coordination of it. Like, kudos to anyone that's ever like taken up cross country skiing at an older age. Like, it's so challenging.
Do you feel like you've mastered it yet?
No. No, and like I don't know if maybe that's like part of the reason why
you keep coming back.
I always feel like I keep coming back for more, like stupidly, but also just like happily as well. I think there's always like something with new race courses where I'm like, oh, I could have done that better, or like maybe I'm not the best skier, like I need to work on this. And yeah, I think that is one of the aspects probably why people get really addicted to this sport too, is there's always something to improve on, which means it's never boring.
That is true. It's never boring and mostly frustrating a lot of the time. Yeah, for people who are watching the Paralympics for the first time, I think that's something that's so distinctly interesting about parasport is the age in which people come to it is very different. Whereas like if you're watching Olympic cross-country skiing, Olympic downhill, you can probably make the assumption that all of those people have done it from a very early age and have spent decades doing it. Whereas in parasport, I seem to notice that, because someone might have gone through an injury later in life, because parasport does have to focus a lot more on recruitment and development, like there is a fair number of people who come at it at different ages, at different life cycles. And that's something that I think obviously doesn't come across on a result sheet or on the broadcast, is like, how long has this person done this sport? And for someone like yourself and for me, who started it at an older age, we just were also set up with a disadvantage because we didn't get all those like awkward moments that you experience on skis as kids. But do you think there's any advantage to starting later in life?
I think the only advantage I would say is like when you're older, you can be more disciplined, or maybe you understand, like it's easier for you to connect with others that could help you be better. So when I first started skiing, like I kind of knew the steps to take in order to progress in skiing at a faster rate. When you're a kid, you're not disciplined enough to really know like, oh, I should train this many hours and it's just about fun. But there is such a huge advantage like growing up on skis, and you're learning the basics without it feeling like work. Whereas when you start older, like practicing all these drills like just feels like work. The thing that I do like about parasport though is when people come into the sport later, I think there's so much more diversity in people's stories and talking with other athletes. Like if someone's had an injury later in life and then they take up sit skiing, or someone's vision deteriorates and now they're a blind skier, I just find that to me is so interesting in parasport, and I really admire that, and I think like cherish that we get to learn from one another and like hear those stories.
There's so many added elements to being a para athlete, from equipment to even the way we get coached to general mobility. Like when you think about an athlete who maybe has everything handed to them on a platter, like para athletes then are having to maintain all this equipment and also spend all this outside energy to access an inaccessible world on top of that. And it just is so fascinating. Like I feel like I became such a fan of it just from like watching it and like you said, hearing the stories. But back to you.
But I think like also normalizing that too. Like as a kid, I was always like really embarrassed almost to have prosthetics because they were different and because I didn't know anybody that was using a prosthetic. So I didn't want to ride a bike with a prosthetic. Like my dad tried to make an attachment for me so that I could ride my bike easier. And I was like, no, I don't want that. And then I would just do like the death grip on the handlebars, being like, I'm fine just riding my bike this way. And now it's like, if we want to cycle as part of our cross training, like that's another hoop that we also have to jump through as a para athlete, because now you need to find a prosthetic that fits you, or what's your setup going to be. And there are all these different things that maybe the average person doesn't really think about, but it's cool to share those stories with other para athletes and just try to normalize how, you know, we can celebrate these differences too.
So you're pretty young into your ski career when you go to your first Paralympics in Sochi. What was that experience like as a new skier, also new to the para space, and a young adult?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the technicality of the sport and your frustration with Clister and Classic, I remember one of the distances there was a 15K Classic. I didn't even know what Clister was because I was from Saskatchewan. It's minus 30. Like you only need like one green hard wax on your skis. And I think that was the first time I had ever skied Clister, and it was wet and slushy. It was at the games. And to be fair, like Classic took me a long time to learn how to actually kick the Classic ski. Like you can Classic and you can kind of shuffle, but to kick the ski properly, like Classic takes longer to master than skate skiing.
100%.
I believe, and it's in those subtle details in the technique. So I went to Sochi and didn't actually know how to kick the Classic ski. Fortunately, I didn't have any pressure on me to have like medal performances. Like we knew that wasn't where I was at. It was just about going to the games and really learning, getting the experience and learning. It was the first time having like more cameras around. It can be really overwhelming.
100%.
So I think that was a really good opportunity for me to go and do the races and learn from my teammates, learn from, you know, the people that had been skiing on the team for a number of years, and then just get a sense of what the Paralympics were like, so that when I was coming back in 4 years, hopefully in that time, you know, that I would be able to know what that was going to be like so that I could have better performances.
So what did you do so much differently from Sochi to Pyeongchang to become a medalist?
Well, I started working more with the national team. So the year after Sochi, I think I qualified for development with my results in Sochi. And then I made the national team in 2015. And that was really, I think, also where I made drastic changes, because then I was able to work with the head coach, Robin McKeever, at the time. And I moved out west to Canmore, which is a national training center for us. And I think getting to be around other athletes on the team and have high level coaching, and, you know, you're getting to work with all the support staff, having a strength coach, you have all these people that can now support you. And I think that was a huge difference maker for me, because it really highlighted what I needed to do for training to be fast. So at that point, I knew exactly what I should be doing. And it comes back to that discipline and determination, sometimes being at the right place at the right time.
And that's something too that I think is something I've had to learn in my now 5.5 years of skiing too, is that like I took everything that the first coach said to me as truth and as gospel. And the more voices I let into the room, I would become overwhelmed. Like if I talked to another coach or another athlete and asked for a technique piece of advice. And I've been coming to realize like I can allow those in and maybe I'll pick up something from them. But I am aware enough now when something like clicks for me. Whereas before I'd like take any ounce of advice or coaching and be like, oh my God, this is the only way I can become a good cross country skier. Like, I have to listen to it how they said it, but it doesn't make any sense in my head. So is there a one piece of advice you got maybe from Robin that has really stuck with you?
Robin would always say, get your feet under you. And the sit skiers are like, where are your feet? Like, aren't they under you? But it was more in a relation. Like, I actually don't have that great of ankle flexion. And I tend to like be more back on my heels, which we know like isn't stable, isn't that powerful. And a lot of coaches, I think, would say like hips forward. Like, that's always a common thing. And I'm like, it just doesn't, like, if you don't understand really what that means or how that's going to help you, like saying hips forward doesn't really do anything. So sometimes the like feet under you sounds really simple, but it's just like, I'm thinking of it as like get in the ready position, like be in an aggressive stance that if someone is going to like push you, that you can actually like hold it rather than just like falling over, like you're in a reactive position.
Brittany knows my coach pretty well, Nick Nisho, and he did one early on that still kind of confuses me, but it's stuck in the memory, and it's milk the cow. For like the height of your poles in classic and the rhythm, it's like milk the cow.
Okay.
First races, I was like, this is a weird sport. Who is the first person you go to for support on tough days?
Probably my boyfriend, Sam. So Sam is also pretty big into sports too. He's an ultra runner, and I feel like we're very supportive of each other in our sports, but we also just have a similar lifestyle, which I think we really complement each other that way. Like, it's nice to have a partner that has similar interests, and then getting to share your sport with your partner is also fun. When we ski together, usually I'm ahead of him, and then when we're running together, usually he drops me on the trails.
And this is Brittany's boyfriend, Sam. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Sam, how do you support Brittany when she's had a bad day of training or racing?
Oh, God. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say, but if I text her when she has like, a bad day of training, I'm like, what's your craving? And usually it's something like burgers, steaks, and a margarita or a beer. So usually that's what I get as a text message. So usually I provide those.
Sam, you're an elite athlete too, so you can obviously relate to what Brittany goes through in her athletic journey. Do you feel like that makes you a better person to comfort her on those tough days?
You know when you're having a good day or a bad day and what it feels like. You don't really need to like say anything. You can kind of just tell. And you know what makes a bad day as an athlete. So I do feel like those days you can pick up more on and help when you need, I feel like.
What have you learned about cross country skiing from dating Brittany?
What have I learned? Oh, that I'm terrible at it. how badass Brittany is and her teammates. Like, I've cross country skied like, recreationally as like cross training and stuff, but like now like skiing with Brittany and like seeing her adaptations to the sport and how she's like just unbelievable at the sport is just like, it's really cool. So I think like, yeah, what I've learned is just like how she's been able to adapt to the sport and like go so much further past that as an athlete.
So how are you going to celebrate with Brittany after Milan or after her last race in Milan?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm sure she's going to be having similar cravings to like what we talked about before. So I'll be at the ready. I'm sure it's gonna be wine when we're in Italy. Yeah, I think we'll probably celebrate with that and like a shakeout run or something, enjoy the mountain still, and like more like in a recreational style rather than like preparing for a race style. And then then we're gonna do a little vacation in Greece to chill out.
Will you be the most obnoxious Team Canada, Team Brittany fan in the crowd?
We've been looking at all sorts of attire for me to wear in the stands.
I want her face on a shirt.
Oh my God, how do you even think about that? That's so good. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
I'll design one and
idea.
send it to you. I am excited to see her number one fan in the crowd too. So thanks for hopping on. Thanks, Sam.
All right.
So as you look towards Milan, your fourth Paralympics, what are your main performance goals? Do you have specific performance goals? Or are there more process goals that you're laying out? What are the hopes for Milan?
It's easy to set those goals of like, I want a podium at these games. And for sure, like that was definitely some of my goals going into Beijing. Had my first podium at the 2018 Paralympics. Beijing, I was like, okay, maybe I can add another medal or maybe a different color. And then Beijing resulted in 2 bronze medals. But I think coming away from Beijing, I realized that I was too focused on the result. You know, if I was getting a 5th place, like because it wasn't a podium, I was like automatically disappointed in it. This last year, like as I've been injured, I've kind of switched my goals to be more process oriented. And I know like you have to think about the process and go through your process to get the results. Like I know that. But when we get to the games, it's so easy to fixate on the medal and the prize like at the end of the race. So I think I really just want to enjoy these games, go out there and focus on the things that I know are like going to bring me joy. But at the same time, like our competitors are getting stronger. Like it's so easy to judge what's happening on the result sheet or think that you haven't improved because you maybe haven't improved on the result sheet, but it's only like a snapshot in time. It can vary so much depending on like who's racing, how people's skis are. There's so many factors that go into this. And I think I want to just give myself the grace. So like if I went out there and had my best day and I'm so happy with how I executed my race plan and if everything like went as best as I could for my ability, like I'll be happy with that, whether that results in a silver medal or whether that's 6th place. Like you go to the start line and what do you hear the commentators say? They always talk about your past results. And particularly for me, I've had quite a bit of success in the long distance biathlon race. So I'm kind of already anticipating that I'm going to go to the start line and the commentator's probably going to talk about, you know, the bronze medal that I've won at the last 2 games in this race. And if I don't manage to win a bronze medal again or better, I think it's so common for people to expect you to be better than you were last time. But realistically, we know like I could be a better athlete than I was in Beijing in that race, but it won't result in a bronze medal. It might result in a 5th or a 4th. But to spectators and maybe others, they'd be like, oh, maybe it wasn't as good because the result wasn't the same, which is just really hard. So I think I'm just trying to focus on going through my own process, having fun, and being able to give myself the grace of like, if I just go out there and have my best day, whatever that is, just finding little victories in that and being proud of those moments.
Once you have like a tiny taste of it, it's like, you're like, I want more. At the end of the day, I keep telling myself this. Yes, we're professional. Yes, this is our career, but it is just a sport. Like it's just a sport at the end of the day.
If I don't even know how many medals I've won at World Cups, yeah, it's so easy to think like, oh, I need to win more medals and that's the purpose of sport. But no, it's also like, I want to know like if I cross the finish line or another little girl is watching me race, like, am I a person that she can look up to? Or like, are people going to be proud of like how I carried myself at the games or racing? Like we're on the world stage, like there's people watching, and who you are as a person and who you're becoming through sport, I think matters so much, and not allowing yourself to always get caught up in the results. I love when we cross the finish line and we like hug each other and, you know, we're all like fist bumping and like, I'm really happy when I see one of my competitors have like a really great day. Like that gives me chill to be like, man, she was really on today. She shot clean. Or like, did you see how fast she was skiing? And like, we can celebrate each other. And I think it's that mentality of like, I want everybody to have their best day.
That's amazing. And we are rooting for you in Milan and very excited to see what you do and what you do next.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you for tuning into Flame Bearers Making It to Milan.
If you like what you heard, please like, follow, and subscribe to Flame Bearers on YouTube and anywhere you get your favorite podcasts.
Stay tuned as we bring you more behind-the-scenes stories of women athletes around the world training for the competition of a lifetime. See you next time on Making It to Milan.